Jim, what do you think of The Curse of Frankenstein?
I thought it was a fine movie. Yeah, it was fine. I really liked the angle of again, I mentioned it earlier, of Dr. Frankenstein actually being the monster, the biggest monster in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it. It was a fine movie. Yeah, it's a story we've heard a million times, but they had a nice little twist on it.
Yeah.
How about you?
I like it quite a bit. It sounds like I probably enjoyed it more than you. I do think the Peter Cushing performance is just incredible. Like, not just for a horror movie, not just for Peter Cushing, but this is just a great leading performance. You know, no matter the genre, no matter the time period, I think this just works.
He definitely stole it all. That's for sure.
Just like he robbed those graves. and then, you know, so because I mentioned the guy playing Paul, who I might as well get his full name here. Robert Urquhart, Scottish
goodness.
character actor. Yeah, he sucks in this movie. I'm sorry. Paul Kremp.
His unwilling collaborator was Paul Kremp.
Paul Kremp, more like Paul Crap, am I right?
Yeah. I do think I know I said this earlier, but the monster stuff, you know, the literal monster, the creature, is the worst stuff about this movie, and that's not really a knock against Christopher Lee. I don't think this is the right role for him, but
I think Christopher Lee works really well when you can see his face and his facial expressions and where he is speaking. Plain and simple.
Because the only two movies we've seen him in, it's this and The Mummy. The Mummy, he's like, you don't see his face. He's got the full makeup thing. I remember we complained about you see way too much of his eyes because there's something about the costume. They just like left too big of eye holes in there. It's like Halloween H2O. But here, you see more of his face, even though it is under makeup. You can tell it's Christopher Lee if you've seen a young-ish Christopher Lee in something. But I don't want to say he's not playing a character, but he's not playing a human. And, it hurts. I don't want to compare this to Boris Karloff and to the 1931 Frankenstein, because I think they're very different movies for the most part. But Boris Karloff was wholly convincing as this new life who's like trying to figure out how to work in his own body and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a grown toddler, basically, like a 7-foot toddler, basically, is how Boris Karloff plays that. And going back to like how he gets excited playing with the little girl and then he kills her. This monster, he's more, I don't want to use the word evil, but he's more immediately threatening than the Boris Karloff character. The Boris Karloff monster has to be tortured by Fritz and whipped around.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, the first thing he does is try and choke Peter Cushing, which in this movie, that's actually a good thing. So, we should be rooting for him in that instance. But then when he's wandering out in the woods and the old man, like, I guess he kind of feels threatened by the old man, even though we know there's no real reason for him to feel threatened. But he's just a little scared, and that's the equivalent. If there is an equivalent, that's the equivalent of the drowning the little girl scene in the 1931 film, and it's just not as effective.
No, and it
just isn't,
Kind of like what you said, Karloff's monster was kind of like a toddler learning about the world around them. And you had that kind of sweet scene between the girl with the flowers and the monster.
Yeah.
He's just fucking like walking through the woods and killing people left and right. The
monster stuff is the worst stuff in this movie. And as much as I love when children get murdered in movies, we mentioned that before. It's just not the most compelling. And first of all, we don't even see the kid get killed. That's a missed opportunity.
No. Well, we don't actually see anybody get killed, other than the monster, twice.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they do the tasteful cutaways when the maid gets locked in, which they cut away specifically to show that Frankenstein is locking the door behind her, which is a neat thing to do.
One thing I did like about this movie was the laboratory set, how it was kind of crazy and like there was just kind of stuff everywhere. But I liked the machine. I liked the tank that was full of water.
Yeah.
I liked how they had lightning strike and restart the machine when Peter Cushing was upstairs arguing with Paul.
That's right, yeah, because initially he's like, Paul, I need your help because I can't get only you know how to make this machine work. And then Paul's like, okay, that's good. That means the machine will never work because I don't want you making this life. But then lightning. It's like God is on Frankenstein's side there.
I also like the whole bit about the brain. How they took the brain out of the professor. But in the fight, the jar that it's in is thrown against the wall by Peter Cushing and it impales the brain with glass. And that's why Frankenstein, or that's why the monster's so fucked up. Like, it wasn't like accidentally a criminal brain, you know?
The brain itself is amazing. This is one hell of a prop. This is 1957. This is like the most gruesome thing ever in a 50s movie, basically, right?
Oh, for sure.
For its time, it was really, really nasty. This got reviews from like the British press as like people are saying it's just the most fucking disgusting thing. This was the Hostel of its day, which is funny because now we think of it as it's this classy gothic horror movie, but no, when it came out, this was like extreme. And like I saw a poster of this movie that's like declaring it as like the most disgusting, horrific thing ever. And it's like, okay, you know, you can kind of see that, but it's just kind of interesting to see how times have changed, you know?
Yeah.
We have far gorier stuff than this on basic cable, you know, nowadays. So it's just kind of interesting, but it's just worth pointing out because this movie was very controversial when it came out. Just like, I mean, the original, the 1931 James Whale Frankenstein was controversial when that came out for being pretty shocking, grave robbery, and then also some of the dialogue with the, you know, now I know what it feels like to be God, which was a line that was actually censored. Yeah, I mean, there's a long history of Frankenstein pushing boundaries, I guess, in terms of what is considered good taste. So I respect that.